Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So, in today's video, I'm going to rank the swords. And I know this might seem like a strange video, but if you do pay attention or have paid attention to the last set of patch notes, you'll know that all of the swords did receive quite a big buff. The Shadow got a nice DPS buff. The Hypernova got a nice DPS buff. Every sword got a nice DPS buff, so on and so forth. And yeah, they've also fundamentally changed quite a bit. So I think it's about high time we start ranking the swords for once. So yeah, let's start off with that. Now, I'm going to start off with the third best sword, and I'm also going to give my reasons why and everything. So don't worry, it's not just going to be this is the worst sword because of this and that. So yeah, let's go with it. Now, starting off, the third best sword, in my opinion, or the worst sword, is going to be the Deus. Now, I know a lot of people have been relying on this weapon like it's grace, and I'm also one of them. This sword was pretty much the go-to sword for the longest of time, at least because of how crazy strong it is. When you swing the Deus, you can see almost 1,000,000 damage a hit, and the Deus is the, with the unique ability Slam, was so strong it would be doing 5 to 10 plus million damage in a single whack. And it's also just, you know, a big sword. Who doesn't like swinging a big sword? That sounds really, really questionable. But the Deus was basically the best sword for a while. Now, with the Deus, it's not perfect. The Deus is slow at swinging in general compared to some of the other options, especially because it's a bigger and heavier sword. Its unique ability did have an MP drain, but I think they removed that. The main thing that I would say with this sword is that ammo can definitely be a little bit cooked inside of a normal dungeon unless you have the ammo dog. Other than that, the unique ability Slam even is a very hit and miss, and essentially even though you can build into 100% crit on this sword, I'm at 89 right now, but even when it's at 100, you're basically crit fishing on final bosses. When you've been using this sword in Axe Converter for the longest of time and stuff anyways, this sword genuinely just comes down to crit fishing. This did do very, very good damage before the buffs, and even after the buffs, it is not a bad sword. But when it comes to what the other swords now have to offer, you will kind of see that, well, the other swords are genuinely just a little bit better, in my opinion. So that's going to be the Deus specifically. I do still think that this is a good sword, and it's still a sword you want to grab, just because it looks cool with Ajax, and you can turn it into a whatever the hell it is on my back. But yeah, that is going to be the Deus, which is the third best sword. Next up, it's either going to be between the Hypernova and the Shadow. And honestly, Hypernova is the sword I'm going to put into second place. Now, before you start questioning my Shadow and questioning what's going on, let's talk about why the Hypernova is such a great sword. The Hypernova itself, as a weapon, is, well, way more than just a weapon. The Hypernova, as a sword currently, is capable of grouping mobs, which is great. The DPS numbers have basically tripled from being like 50k a hit to over 150k a hit on the ticks, and even grouping mobs in general works out incredibly well, with the final explosion on this sword being able to burst for almost over 100 million, or even way higher than 100 million, depending on how many mobs are in there. If we were to just quickly, oops, wrong button, reset this and then slam the sword in the middle of the mobs, you'll see that this will drag them in. It will do plenty of damage to them on the side. For example, 50, 60, 70 million. Boom. There you go. 200 million on a nice little nuke. The one and the true biggest perk about this sword is its unique ability. It's basically a pocket lepic, if that's what you want to call it. The toe is great. And if you are using a Descendant that's got gunning capabilities, let's say, for example, Ajax, or if you're using Enzo or something, you can easily just go in and then rip the mobs apart with abilities or with guns. Now, when it comes to the single swing with this sword, the single swing on this sword is still incredibly strong. And as you can see, when it comes to spinning and slashing, this is significantly faster than the Deus. With this sword as well, you can get it into 100% crit territory, and it does a lot of damage. Does it do more damage than the Deus? Technically, if you keep swinging, yes, it does. Over the DOT and stuff like that, it does end up becoming more worthwhile. It's still a really, really capable sword, even in single swings, but I feel like the single swing capability is kind of falls off a little bit when you take into account the range on this sword. Even with range mods, it doesn't really do the greatest pickup on mobs that are around you. It's more so meant to be done with the unique ability, and then but for the most part, if you do use this without the mobs being invincible inside the lab, there's something you'll notice very quickly, and that is that, well, the unique ability is strong, and it will, in fact, kill everything incredibly fast. They are all dead. I don't even have time to let them, you know, muster inside there. If we detonate it immediately, though, they will survive, some of them, but it's a bit of an odd one. But the Hypernova is definitely the second best sword, in my opinion. Now, let's have a look at the best sword, the Shadow. Holy flip from grace this weapon is in. Honestly, just this, it's absolutely ridiculous how much this sword has changed. Now, this sword is built into multi-hit chance, or consecutive strikes is what it's called. And this sword is truly what I would consider to be the perfect sword in this game. The main reason for that is this sword ticks every single box. When it comes to regular swings, it has a good amount of range and will pick mobs up even if they are fairly far away from you. You can get the odd crits and stuff like that. When it comes to the DPS on this sword too, you'll be seeing that even the DPS on here with the multi does even end up matching the Deus with 700k on the white ticks, along with 1.1, 1.2 ticks on the other stuff like the multi and the toxic. Is it the Lightbringer? Yeah, it's the Lightbringer skin. It's the skin for the sword that makes the Hypernova shoot like that. So, the range on this sword is good. The damage on the sword is good. So, what's the unique ability like? It's excellent. You can ninja dash into things. And for the most part, you're probably thinking, well, why does that make this the best sword? It's the fact that this sword's unique ability is so insanely strong when it comes to setup and comes to basically everything else in this game. Even if I was to pull this sword out on Gluttony, using the unique ability, you one-shot Gluttony as a Colossus. That was over 30 million damage in that burst. Now, with this as well, when you use it for mobbing, you have the benefit of, well, using it and synergizing it with your abilities. If you are using this along with stuff like this, you know, popping your condensers and stuff like that, you can also use this as a movement stick and then burst into grapple and stuff like that. The unique ability does work with movement, which is one of the best things about this sword, which is just ridiculously good. When I had been farming Axe Converter, this sword is on there. When I've been farming missions, this sword is on there. When I've been farming breach tracking, this sword is on there. This sword's unique ability is so strong, it will one-shot elites in Axion, it will one-shot tyrants in Axion, it will one-shot every boss. Basically, this is the sword you want to go with. Even in Forbidden Sanctuary, this is this sword still does good damage against the elites and the bosses in there. I wouldn't really rely on it as much, more so than skills in Forbidden. However, everywhere else in this game, you're gonna want this sword. Even inside of a supermassive receptor, the Shadow does very good damage. The unique ability has been buffed to such an extent where it is genuinely insane. Now, when it comes to Descendant synergies, does this work with other Descendants as well? Well, yeah, it's sword. I would honestly go so far to say that the sword is basically, the Shadow is basically the melee version of the last dagger, as in this should be on every Descendant and every setup. I've become so addicted to the Shadow that if you search Shadow, I have 5 of them. Yeah, there you go. That pretty much tells you all you need to know. I have a Shadow for every element, every faction. It is insanely addicting how strong and how satisfying this sword is. If you do pay attention to my videos, or you do watch my videos, you'll notice that like almost every one of my breach tracking videos now have the Shadow in it. And honestly, I think this weapon is going to be something that a lot of people absolutely want to get in and invest in moving forward. I have noticed some bugs with it as well though. Like Harris, for example, is bugged with this one. If I was to hop on Harris real quick, for example, if I was to use this, again, this is an example of very good synergy because Harris does buff the sword's DPS. So let's just use this as an example. With Harris's passive, if you build her toxic base up to the 70% or higher, you'll get a 30% DPS increase on these swords too. So Harris galore, I guess. This is the Hypernova. Yeah, this is Hypernova. So with Hypernova as well, if you were to use this as an example to pull mobs together and then just slam the Hypernova in the middle. Oh wait, I need to make them invincible. Oops. I need to show you the damage. My bad. Wrong button. Technical difficulties. But even if you were to use this as a mobbing style of capable weapon, you go in with Harris, you drag some mobs in with her abilities, then you slam this weapon there. You can watch the damage increase about 10+ million damage a second, and with the final burst, it bursts all the way up to 500 million. Incredibly capable. If we repeat the same thing, except this time with the Shadow, you'll see that again, similar story. Harris is going to do very, very good damage. 3, 4, 5. Then you grapple away, and then you go in with the Shadow. You'll see 1.1 billion immediately. So if there is a horde of mobs and you want to see big, massive, funny numbers, or 1.3 billion after the multi effect is done, it's the Shadow. And yeah, that's basically why if you haven't invested in the Shadow, you should absolutely do that. I know it's probably a surprise because the Shadow was the worst sword and now it's genuinely the best. It makes me wonder whether the developers have got any other swords planned, and if they do, what they are going to be like. Because I feel like as far as a mobbing tool goes, the Hypernova is almost perfection. As far as a bossing tool goes, the Shadow is perfection. And it's also a movement stick and everything else in between. A good sword, good DPS, save your life simulator and everything. And then the Deus is kind of a little bit behind, but for what it is, it's still an absolutely great sword and you wouldn't have any problems with either one of them. So yeah, that's pretty much everything on the sword, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed. Probably something you weren't expecting to see, but I mean, this is the new shift, and honestly, if I could push anything towards meta, it would be the Shadow. But yeah, that's been this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, please just smash that like button. And if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the first Descendant, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!